I would like to share a few thoughts about from our team that our prediction of the future and where is our interpretations and bets and for the future, and hopefully it will be useful. Um, so, and you probably see the title already, so probably a bit spicy, but like it or not, I'm sure you'll like it, that if you believe in AI and you are actually believe in crypto. And why is that? I'll explain it. But before diving into that, a bit of self-introduction. So I'm the CEO of Neuromesh. Prior to that, I worked roughly 10 years in Google, managing a couple of teams and also being a tech lead for another 50, 60 or so, and cross-functional teams for a few critical AI company-level AI projects. And outside of that, I also did a couple of startups, not as all-in as this time, of course. But they were fun, and the majority of them were in Web2, but also a layer 1 protocol roughly 6 years ago. So speaking of startups, there are actually 3 moments in the history that the technical companies that spend more than 3 trillion US dollars in the technical build-up, which means building data centers and then procuring all the different hardwares. The first wave is around 90s, and I guess I was learning how to speak or how to stand, and so I missed it, of course. The second time was in the era of mobile, and which was about the time that I joined Google. There probably missed a bunch of excitement, but also it was fun and lots of exciting things in Google, lots of learnings as well. I was grateful. So if down to the decision again, I guess I probably would pick the same decision again. But at this time, AI, it's entirely different. So the scale is vast and the change is so fundamental that if you are passionate about it and want to do something, this basically is the trend that you cannot miss. All right, so without further ado, I just want to share 3 thoughts from our team on what is our prediction of the future. And so here are the 3. The first one is we strongly believe the current internet industry is the economies of scale, but AI is naturally an economies of diversity, and I'll explain what it is about. The second is evolution never ends. Of course, the whole industry is happening really fast with a lot of changes, very hard to catch up. But it's also important to zoom out a bit and not just catching up with the continuous trend that people already can see, but also zoom out to see what will be happening in the next probably 2 or 3 years' time. Oh, sorry. Set automatically. And the last one is true intelligence will come from collaboration, not just from single models. So here's the first trend. So if we think about the existing economy, the current products and the services that are run by the big tech giants nowadays, they are apparently an economies of scale. And thinking about, for example, a search engine or the services that based on data they can provide to users, there are vast volume of data. Thinking about the complexity and scale for the compute, for the main cache, for the cache, and for the privacy protection, and for all the different setups, that even if I have all the resources and all the data and all the code, I won't be able to run a Google-like services. So to some extent, it makes sense for those consumer services to be best in a centralized setup, because you need that scale and efficiency. It definitely doesn't apply to all the different areas, but for many cases, it is true. So I think without doubt that the existing internet industry is an economies of scale. But AI is really different. If you think about the wonder of a model, the information density within that model, so actually just having a couple billions parameters of a model and condensing half of the knowledge of the internet, being able to provide the services and answer your questions, that probably needs a very well-established services that you'll be able to handle previously. So thinking about that actually is quite a miracle. So with that information density, that models is quite quite self-contained, that could achieve lots of things that originally kind of it needs a large cluster and to be able to handle. So naturally is distributable, which means the AI models naturally tends to be decentralized. And that brings lots of things. So by decentralization, it means the model could run in different contexts and having different scenarios. They could have combinations of your data, your scenario, your context, and something that people can contribute to. So that brings in diversity. And it has been proven by many that diversity leads to wisdom. So one of the data points that I would like to highlight here is that if you look at the number of the models that contributed from a community from Hugging Face, there are almost 1 million models out there. And it's a surprisingly high number. So if we look back into the previous two trends, the mobile era and the start of the internet, when was the last time that we will be able to see that community contributions matters so much at the very bleeding edge that driving forward the overall industry and into the next level? I believe the answer is no. And so, yeah, so that's kind of the first point from our bet and prediction of the future, that really AI is an economies of diversity. And that comes from the density of the model, comes from, that leads to the decentralization, and decentralization brings in diversity, diversity leads to wisdom. And this is something that really natural with Web3. And so that's kind of the first reason why, if you believe in AI and you believe in crypto. And the second trend that I would like to share is evolution never ends. Right. So what do I mean by that? I know there are lots of kind of existing trends, and then people looking into the continuation of the existing trend. But something that we probably can do is to take one step back and learn from the history. So there are definitely kind of entirely different scale, different complexity, and different levels of excitement as well. But there is a similar path in the history as well. So for example, when AlexNet comes out, it reaches really a high level of complexity and scale and to their time as well for CNN involvement. And that followed by a couple of years of involvement that followed by a couple of years on focusing on the scale and complexity, and then a couple of years on focusing on cost efficiency and putting into applications, and then slowly moving towards the edge. So all this is very similar trend to what we see from the existing autoregressive large language models market. But on the other hand, probably equally important is to notice when the existing technology they start to consolidate, they consolidate at a level that excites people, but not at the level that satisfies people. Whether it's through the push force or the pull force, there will be a new technology evolving, and that we saw from the CNN example that was a transformer that came into being, and the rest we are all very familiar with that. But kind of another bet that we have for the future is the new transformer moment will come again. And what will be the new transformer? So it probably is a bit kind of unbiased because this is an area that our team has been heavily working on. But this is something that we think if we are taking one step back and thinking more on the biological and first the principle, and we do feel like the next transformer moment is very likely to come from something more like a brain-like models, and particularly on the energy-based models. And this is something that we've been looking into quite a lot from our team. So predictive coding network is probably one of the most well-established research fronts in the energy-based model, but there are other variations as well. And it has lots of kind of really interesting properties out there. And so, for example, it's performance in the continuous space. So rather than, for example, to having control the robot motion by stating a start position and an end position and using diffusion model in the middle to proxy from the discrete space to a continuous space. And something that you could look into is with the continuous energy-based model. And also some other really interesting properties such as a very recent paper that published in Machine Intelligence back in July. Come on, can work. Yeah, so it proves to have the space awareness that being able to recreate the map from the Minecraft game. And there are lots of different interesting, such as the arbitrary topologies as well. And also down below there, I also linked some really exciting work from MIT so for example, kind of the energy-based model applied in fine-tuning, being able to locate into a very specific place, and also the decompose the training in general. So for example, for face recognition, what they can do is that they have an energy function based on kind of recognizing the hair, an energy function based on recognizing the skin, the energy function based on recognizing the background, and they train them separately and eventually combine the model. Miraculously, this model will be able to recognize all three of them, the combination of them, and to do the face recognition. And all these kind of very interesting setups is quite natural for distributed training, distributed fine-tuning in general. And so that's kind of the second reason why we think the future of AI will be leaning and deeply coupled deeper and deeper with the overall decentralized infrastructure. So that's the second reason, and why you believe in AI and you believe in crypto, like it or not. And the last reason, the last prediction here is collaborative intelligence. So if we draw analogy from human society, the true intelligence was not coming from kind of a celebrity or a wise mind from a single person, but from the miracles created by collaboration from all different human beings. And that form into governments, form into societies, form into nations, and producing kind of lots of miracles from human history. And this is kind of a famous book and being quoted by so many people, but it's still really well saying, so I think I'll just quote it anyway. So each mind is made of many smaller processes, but if we can join these minds in a certain very special ways, this leads to true intelligence. And we think this is something that will be true for AIs as well. So the collaboration of different models. And so from single model to a collaborative system. So this is a graph I really like, and from a work called Task Matrix from MSI Asia, and I think last year, which kind of pointing out the future is that instead of just focusing on developing isolated AI models, we should create a network of interconnected AI models and systems that collaborate to achieve more. And this very much is the mission of Neuromesh as well, which we envision to create an internet of neurons, and that combined with all the three previous trends that I just mentioned. So for example, we will have the participation with diversity by providing the energy-based model fine-tuning, energy-based model distributed training, and also, for example, involving with the proprietary data, such as via RAG or via fine-tuning, etc. And the second is also as the interconnected neurons that needs evolvement as well, because evolvement really never ends. It could achieve via DPO, via reinforcement learning with human feedback, and also model innovation as well, especially looking into the next innovating space on energy-based model. And the last one is the collaboration. So through what we call the thinking neurons, to combine the strength and the wisdom of different models. So for example, getting to a view that large model is in charge of knowledge, while smaller or specialized models are in charge of expertise, and they collaborate to achieve even more. And that leads to a view where we have a place that you could upload your mind in collaboration with other minds to achieve more. So with all of that, that concludes with my talk. So again, as the prediction of the future and the better of the future, and there's no right or wrong. It's opinions, science, and art. So hopefully it's useful, and hopefully that kind of brings a bit of the positive energy. And we would like also to hear from you as well. So come talk to us. And I think I have a track record and that of being the dumbest person within the team. But it's something that I'm proud of, and so come talk to us if you have any thoughts. We are looking for collaboration and for discussion and, well, basically, and for making friends. All right, so that kind of is the end of my talk. So I think we are at the kind of bleeding edge in witnessing the fundamental change of the society from the internet that is moving from an internet of nodes to an internet of neurons. So a mesh of neurons, neuromesh, that's our vision. So thanks everyone. Just